You ready? Is this thing on? Oh, wow, we're live. Oh my God. This time I was faking it. I knew we were on screen. But welcome to the Katie Halper Show. And if it's a Wednesday night, you're going to be with me and Nana.
How are you?
Good, you?
Thanks for having me. How's it going?
Good, it's going good.
Yeah? How was your Thanksgiving?
Oh, right. I haven't seen you since Thanksgiving. It was good.
Yeah.
I had a good one. Social distance Thanksgiving. It was fun. Fought about politics.
Who'd you fight with?
My aunt, who every single time we talk, by the way, everyone like and share and subscribe if you haven't already. But every time we talk, my aunt talks about how young people, they don't understand because they're privileged. They don't understand how Bernie will not win in the Midwest. He just doesn't win. And my aunt was like very political back in the day. She's like, I like Bernie, and I think she does, but she thinks that he's like totally not viable. And she loves quoting Paul Krugman's the left circular firing squad. Sorry, I'm putting on my lipstick, guys.
As if Paul Krugman doesn't have like the biggest rifle in that circular firing squad.
Yeah, seriously.
It only goes in one direction.
Yeah, it only goes left. It's a semicircle, right? Yeah. Or I guess a quarter. Anyway. But it was fun. Actually, something really funny happened. I should have prepared this, but I'll tell you guys about it later. It's not that interesting. But yeah. And I don't know. What about you?
It was good. Also, social distance with family and stuff. It was good. It was very, very good.
Where'd you go? Oh, you're
Miami.
back. Went back home, Miami.
Yeah.
By the way, wow, your shirt is so coordinated with this new background, which none other than Kelly Carey.
It's a Rocky shirt. Rocky Balboa.
It's like, wow, that's like the colors of my kind of.
It looks like an Aquafresh toothpaste cap bottle.
Yeah, it does. Yeah, I like that combo. Anyway, anything you want to talk about? I mean, I got my own axe to grind, which always means.
Wait, does it rhyme with Shmira Fandon?
Better. So, as we were saying, I asked you if there's anything you wanted to talk about.
And I'm asking if there's anything you want to talk about, because I suspect you want to talk about our good friend Neera Tanden.
Yes, indeed. And, I mean, the last show, we talked a lot about Neera Tanden, but we probably need to do more talking about Neera Tanden.
Is Neera Tanden kind of like the endless well of content for the left?
I think so. Because
it's like you could just dunking on Neera Tanden is like, it just never gets old.
I mean, yeah, she is a bottomless pit of awful, I would say. Didn't you sit next to her or go on air with her or something?
Yeah, 2016. This was like before I mean, this was like when she was just starting her like Twitter rampage.
Right.
We were in an event for the Young Turks.
Yeah.
And it was like a college thing. And I was like there, and I was like, I don't really remember that well. I would have to like look at the video, but I don't believe I ever spoke to her, even though we were like on stage together.
Yeah.
It was very embarrassing, I guess, is the headline. But I don't remember like we spoke or anything like that.
Yeah. Well, anyway,
someone says I'm blitzed. I am absolutely not blitzed.
I know they often think I'm blitzed when I'm
dead
not
sober.
Yeah, I know. They often think that. But okay, you know what? I think that we like a lot. We'll get into those tweets, and we'll get into the very problematic weaponization of identity politics, and we're even going to look at some videos of that. But I just wanted to show this because I think that's something that really got lost in this. Is get out of here, New York Times. All right, is the fact that she did something. Okay, let's just read the opening of this piece. In 2008, Neera Tanden, then a top aide on Hillary Clinton's first presidential campaign, accompanied Mrs. Clinton to what was expected to be an easy interview at the Center for American Progress, the influential group founded by top Clinton aides. But Faz Shakir, the chief editor of the think tank's Think Progress website, asked Mrs. Clinton a question about the Iraq War, an issue dogging her candidacy because she had supported it. Ms. Tanden responded by circling back to Mr. Shakir after the interview and, according to a person in the room, punching him in the chest. Okay? Does everyone know this story? Because I do think it's kind of gotten buried. And to be fair to everyone, it's like it's hard to keep up with all the Nira stuff. But I'm curious if everyone could raise their hands. I'm just kidding. But I'm curious how many people actually knew about this event.
I had forgotten about that.
Right? Like this isn't like this is kind of a big deal, right? Like someone putting their hands on someone else.
Yeah.
I mean, I know
it's not like it doesn't crack like the top 20 Nira things though.
Yeah. I think like what would the first one be, do you think?
It's probably a tie between outing the victim of a sexual harassment publicly or accepting like tons of money from the Gulf states and Israel and stuff like that as the head of the think tank. That one's really bad. Also union busting at Think Progress. I remember that was a good one. Yeah, she's got some good big hits. I mean, sort of shoving Fez Shakir in the chest, like I've seen Nira Tanden. She's not like a violent threat to Fez Shakir,
Well, as she herself pointed out in a tweet, her defense was that she's only 5'1". But here's the thing.
She is like very tiny.
Faz is not like, I mean, is there a rule? Like what proportion if you're like twice the person, you know what I mean?
No, I don't mean it like that. I mean, obviously it's wrong. I'm not saying it's right.
No, I know. You're playing the literal devil's advocate.
No. I'm not even playing devil's advocate. I'm just saying like Nira is so awful that it doesn't even crack.
Right.
In the context of Nira, this is like
tame.
Relatively tame. Yeah.
But I mean, this is you never want someone in your cabinet who says something like this. Although look whose cabinet we're talking about. I mean, so I didn't slug him. I pushed him. A still angry Ms. Tanden corrected in a recent interview. How is she still angry? Is she still angry because he had the audacity to ask about the Iraq War, or is she just angry that she's getting spoken to? I don't know. Anyway, but I mean, it is kind of insane thing if you just step back. And again, of course, like the Libya stuff. Her wanting to steal oil from countries after we invade them. She also advised Hillary Clinton against the Fight for 15. So there's a lot of stuff. But I do think this kind of stands out. Okay, there's the Trumpian tweets. And then what we'll get into a little bit later is the absolute weaponization of identity politics while
she also got Matt Brunig fired from Demos.
Yeah. Right.
She got Matt Brunig fired because he was correctly pointing out that Nira worked on welfare reform for the Clintons, and then she lied about it. I mean, it's like another thing that she just does blatantly. She's kind of like Joyanne Reid in that sense, in that she's figured out the, excuse the term, very Trumpian hack to modern times, that if you just power through it and just tweet through it and just lie, you will get away with whatever bad thing you did. You just get away with it. Yeah. She, Corey Robin posted like a very bizarre. Did you see that?
Yeah, I got to have him on for that. Yeah, but
I mean, it's just like totally insane behavior from like a type of person who's figured out that in the current system, if you just use the insanity to just tweet through it and just never back down and just lie, you'll end up winning.
Yeah, you just double down. But you know what? I have some clips that I think we can watch. Okay, Nando, are you okay with that? Sure. I want to trigger. I'm trigger warning my audience. We're about to see some Nira stuff. So do whatever you need to do. Light some sage. Turn this thing off as long as you come back. I understand. All right, I'm gonna play this one clip though. Okay.
You got our attention today.
Yeah, it's fine.
You tweeted this: serious conservatives, responsible moderates, and hard-headed liberals should want a tough-minded OMB head. OMB is where cabinet secretaries' ill-considered projects go to die, where programs are evaluated, where trade-offs are made. Nira Tanden is the right person for the job, which caused Maggie Haberman to tweet in response. If someone in 2014 told you this tweet would exist 6 years later,
cute.
try to process your reaction. So, Bill, you can still surprise Maggie, which is you got that going for you.
Look at that smile.
Explain to people who may be flummoxed by your full-throated endorsement what she has going for her, why you consider this a good nomination.
Yeah, Brian, I feel like I exist to surprise Maggie Haberman and others occasionally, so that's good that there's still some, I hope, pleasant surprises here in Washington.
Okay, I think everyone watching this knows, right? But Nando, do you wanna actually as woke, feel free to chime in whenever you want as woke Brian Williams, but maybe I can just explain it so we can save the woke Brian Williams for the next clip. But this is because Bill Kristol is a famous neocon, right? Like very well-known neocon, and so this is a weird thing to be doing.
Yeah, I mean it's not that weird though, right? Because that's like a very very important dynamic of the political situation in the United States in 2020, where you see the neocons have left the Republican Party because of Trump and other reasons, and have basically joined the Democrats. I mean, it's one of the more troubling developments that just, and it gets people angry when you point it out, but it's true. It's like, it's undeniable that like the worst people in the world these days are have flocked to the Democratic Party, and the Democratic Party has laid out the red carpet and welcomed them in, whether it's Bill Kristol or David Frum or like, ex-CIA spooks like
Jennifer Rubin,
John Brennan, James Clapper, like they've rolled out the welcome mat for these people, like while still disciplining the left at every single stage of the game. I mean, that is the dynamic. It's the Democratic Party loves having these people in their tent, hates having the left, but knows that it needs the left for votes. So what they do is like every time you point it out like that, it's, I don't know if I want Bill Kristol in my party or David Frum in my party. They accuse you of supporting Trump.
Yeah. Right.
Like why would you hate on someone who opposes Trump with us? And it's like, well, there's problems that arise when you let the tiger into your house. You know what I mean? Yeah. I'm just glad Brian Williams can recognize that Bill Kristol could also be reformed and support a woman of color like Neera Tanden. Very inspiring stuff.
I've gotten to know Neera. I've debated her many times over the years, but we've collaborated a little bit this year. So we both supported Joe Biden in the primary and in the general election. She's a hard-headed, tough-minded person who will try to execute the president when he's...
Whoa. Hard-headed.
Try to execute the president.
She's trying to... I mean, I think Bill Kristol and Neera Tanden both need to go to jail right now.
Yeah.
President Joe Biden's policies. What you do at OMB, it's the budget office. You tell the cabinet departments, no, you can't have everything you want. This program doesn't work well. The evidence shows that. We've got to make some tough trade-offs here.
Oh, good. Tough trade-offs. You know what kind of tough trade-offs this guy is talking about? He's a literal neocon. Do you know what kind of tough trade-offs they mean?
What?
Entitlements.
Oh, yeah.
Big time.
It's
willing to be a little unpopular with his or her colleagues.
Wait, he's saying it's good to be a little unpopular with his or her colleagues.
A person who's willing to be a little unpopular with his or her colleagues at the Office of Management and Budget. You want someone competent who knows the government and who knows politics pretty well. And so I think Neera fits all that. Again, it's a Democratic administration. It's the Biden administration. It's not a Republican administration. I loved Mitch Daniels when he was OMB director, but I think Neera is a very reasonable pick and a good pick by Biden. And I love the fact that the Republican senators are all upset, not because of any substantive position she's taken, not because of any charges about her character, which I think is very good.
Wait, really?
But instead, because she's got some mean tweets,
Well, okay, I want to say something, though. As someone who has mean tweets myself, like, that is a character issue, is it not?
Well, I mean, it's also just, it's not, no, not really. I mean, the thing is, like, I mean, it just, once again, it's just like the blatant hypocrisy over like Bernie's supposed toxic Twitter army. You know, like this is on MSNBC. I mean, like we're watching this clip on MSNBC, which like, you know, basically as like the world was collapsing, as COVID was taking over, and as, you know, like they're asking Elizabeth Warren about people tweeting snake emojis at her. Right. You know, like this is, I mean, it's just so ridiculous. Like watching this segment of like MSNBC having Bill Kristol on to launder and cape for Neera Tanden is just remarkable. It just shows just like how much of a full-on propaganda outfit it's become. It's just like it's absolutely like anyone who denies that at this point is just insane. People get mad at like Glenn Greenwald for pointing that out, and it's like, where's the lie?
Yeah, where's the lie? I don't know where the lie is.
I don't know where the lie is.
I know where the liar is. Well, where the liars are, but okay, sure. And notice Bill Kristol and Neera Tanden.
I thought that was a subtweet again.
Oh yeah. Sorry. All right. Let's play some more of this.
They spent 4 years saying whenever Trump tweeted something, I haven't had time for that. I don't look at Twitter, you know. And now suddenly they're hypersensitive to the fact that Neera Tanden said something 3 years ago that they find kind of insulting, and you couldn't have a cabinet secretary.
Okay, so there's that.
It's just amazing.
Right? It's amazing. I mean, there's a lot to unpack there. The other thing that was hilarious that happened in that clip, by the way, was that Eugene Robinson, who was the other guest, was like, they're going after her tweets because the Republicans are going after her tweets because they have no one else to complain about. It's like, yes, Joe Biden has indeed nominated people who Republicans are happy with. So they are stuck. I mean, and notice that he doesn't acknowledge any of the, like, he probably, I don't know if he knows, but like that there are people on the left who don't like her. This is not all Republicans.
Yeah, I mean, well, no one likes her. I mean, that's except for Democratic, like insane kind of Democratic Party
except for
partisans.
All the people she pays to retweet her. I never know if it's like they were really obsessed with Neera or they're paid operatives, or maybe both.
There's a lot of like insane, just kind of Democratic Party loyalists out there, like
right,
that just like are obsessed with the Democratic Party as if it was like a TV show that they like, and so they like all their favorite characters in the TV show, and anyone who talks shit about them. It's a little bit like, you know, sometimes you see like fans of like certain movie franchises or something like that. They just get like very sensitive about anyone who criticizes anything about it. Yeah, there's a lot of people that are like that for the Democratic Party, and it's just very bizarre to me. Like, I don't understand that impulse of when someone's like, you know, Tom Perez, I really like him. You know, like, it's like, what has he done in any way to like make you like him? Nothing, literally nothing. They just like the characters in the show.
He's Skeletor.
He's what?
Skeletor.
He is Skeletor.
Yeah.
Yeah, he's very Skeletor. So yeah, I mean, the funny thing is that Neera Tanden, you know, she's one of these figures in the Democratic Party that like everyone hates. Like the Republicans hate them as much as the left, you know, and Nancy Pelosi's like that, or like Rahm Emanuel is like that. Like they think that like that by getting like these conservative people that some Republicans might be like, oh, okay, well, she's okay. But the reality is that like Republicans hate Nancy Pelosi probably more if not as much as the left does, you know. Right. They get no credit from the right. Like when you move right, no one's like, oh yeah, hey, at least they're like agree with me on some policies but not on all of them. Like, no, they still hate you. Right. So
well, hold on one second. I'm sorry, I have to send something to someone. This is really a nightmare of a show so far, but Nando's great. Do not associate that with Nando, who was a champ. Nando, if people love you.
Should I just take questions? Should I just take questions from the chat? Yeah. Okay, ask me anything in the chat, and I'll answer honestly while Katie resolves the issues. Just fire anything away. I'm an open book.
Yeah, I'm ashamed of how red my face is right now. It really is the heat.
You look great, Katie. Really, you don't. I know. I'm serious. You don't.
Thank you don't.
Okay. I don't think you look red. So yeah. Don't worry about it.
All right, good.
But yeah,
tell me.
Any questions? Literally anything. You guys need a doctor? I can get you a doctor. I'm okay. I feel good. I needed a doctor a couple weeks ago. Katie's dad. Yeah. Yeah. He's a very good doctor.
Yes, right. He's not feeling well. Just a normal cold, but this I'm gonna try.
Someone said,
You know what?
I had the thought yesterday. That's why Obama stepped in to push Biden, though. Also, because if Biden were allowed to lose, what would that say about Obama's legacy? Yeah, I mean that is part of it for sure. Although Obama reportedly encouraged Biden not to run, I think Obama was very worried about Biden.
To do this?
You don't got to do this, Joe. And like Team Obama, like the sort of like real hardcore Obama knots, they were not really on board with Joe early on. It was just like he was the last guy standing, and the only guy between him and Bernie Sanders. So they needed to get on board and put aside their sort of personal reservations about Biden. Yeah. Nando, what's your favorite sport? My favorite sport is soccer.
We were going to have you on the show.
I know. I'm sorry I couldn't make it for my friend's birthday.
I'm just going to put this on there.
Yeah, I like soccer. I like Formula One. I like football.
That's a car thing, right?
Yeah, it's a car thing. Yeah. Will Tandon be approved by the Senate? I would say probably not.
Yeah. You know why though?
Someone asked me if I ever did softcore porn.
No, he went straight to hardcore. Are you kidding?
Only in the DMs. No, I'm kidding.
Deep. What's DM? Deep something?
DMs is direct message.
I know.
How do you feel about sharks? I'm terrified of sharks, although I recognize that they're very important for the ecosystem of the ocean. But I grew up in Miami, and I knew a kid who got like his leg got chewed up by a shark. Yeah, and it was like it like traumatized me, like just seeing his like gnarled leg when I was growing up.
Did you see it in real time, or you saw it after?
No. It was like his leg was pretty gnarly, like it was like missing like a chunk. It was bitten by a shark. So yeah. What kind of music are you into, Nando? Well, I'm very much into rock and roll music. I like guitar music. I play guitar. I like mostly grunge. My favorite band is Pearl Jam. I love all that stuff. My music taste kind of stopped accepting new music somewhere around 2000. How great does Katie look? I think Katie looks great. I think she's being way too hard on herself, as she is wont to do. I always try to be very encouraging with Katie. Is that true? Is
the calmest. I don't even know how to describe it. I don't know where he gets it from. He's so calm. Well, we talked about this and how it can probably be a danger at some point. Like if you have an allergic reaction that you play down. I mean, but look, he was right. He was fine. I can lower this a couple more notches. Yeah. Now it's not superficial. Now it's just a physical comfort thing, which I feel much better about admitting. So let me just, but I don't keep going with the questions because we aren't even.
Will Trump pardon Snowden? No, I don't think he will. What's your favorite Rocky movie? Well, I'm partial to Rocky IV when he fixes the Cold War. It's a ridiculous movie. It's just totally preposterous, but there's something memorable about it. I don't like 3. 1 and 2 are really good. I don't like 3. I like 4 a lot. 5 is terrible. I barely even consider it a Rocky movie. And then the one that he did with Antonio Carver, that one was like underrated, I thought. And then Creed, I loved. Creed 2 was pretty good, but Creed 1 is amazing. Ideal vacation spot. Honestly, my favorite. I mean, I've been around the world. The place I keep coming back to, and it sounds cheesy, but it's actually not, is Ibiza. Ibiza is just a great vacation spot. Ibiza.
Is that how they actually say it?
Yeah, it is. Okay.
All right. And we're out. You know what? Honestly, I feel bad. I'm going to
I've never been a male stripper.
Guys, never been a male stripper. Him. Unless you're objectifying me at least as much.
Where is Nando on necrophilia? Well, I know Katie is like. Yeah, okay. I know Katie's very the lone truth teller on necrophilia, but I don't think I can get there. Does Nando like Pedro Almodovar? Yes.
Oh my God, so of course.
Good. Is Stallone a Republican? Probably. I mean, he was definitely a Republican in the 80s. So. And he was also like in the 80s. He just made like a lot of movies in which he won the Cold War, or won the Vietnam War. Right. Sorry, and the Cold War. So he's definitely a Republican. Someone said they haven't seen Creed. Go watch Creed immediately. Creed is amazing. It's like an amazing movie. It's like one of the best movies. Like Ryan Coogler, who did Creed, I thought Black Panther was pretty bad, to be honest. I know people love it, but I didn't like it. Yeah. But Creed is like one of the best movies of the last decade.
Very handsome man too.
Fernando, how big was Fernando Alonso in Spain when he won those F1 championships? He was huge. I don't know if he was Senna big because Spaniards really weren't into Formula One. They became into Formula One because of Alonso, but he was huge. He was absolutely massive, like insane. Nando, did you cry? When you saw Rocky 1? It's cool. Every dude I know is crying. No, of course I cried when I saw Rocky 1. Of course.
That's so cute.
Right. Yeah, of course. Come on. Amazing. Someone said Scott Stapp. I support that.
What is it?
Do you cut your hair with a Flowbee like Clooney? No, I need to do that. What is that? What's a Flowbee? I don't know. Do you think change is possible working within the Democratic Party? What would it take to get support for the third party? I just don't think there isn't a viable path for the third party. So it's one of the two parties.
No, but yeah, I mean, I used to think that, but I don't think that anymore. I don't think that anymore.
What do you think now? I don't. How is it's like there's just too many structural impediments.
I think we're just going to have to build a third party.
But it's never going to not on the ballot. Like I think that the Seth Ackerman kind of bluept for a new party article in Jacobin is kind of one that I subscribe to 100%, and that you need independent institutions. You need independent institutions, but you can only run on one of the two main party tickets. Like there is never in American history has there been like an example of a third party getting any meaningful support at the presidential level. There's been, here and there, like Ross Perot did okay, even William Jennings Bryan and the thing, but like they don't ever actually challenge for power. There's some states and stuff that have done kind of these like independent, like farmer labor parties that did pretty well in like the 1920s and things like that. But it just seems like very, very difficult in this day and age. So I don't know.
Yeah, but I mean, what if we really start? I mean, if we actually had a threat, I don't know if it's possible, but if we got a threat going, that would actually
Adolf Reed and them tried it with the Labor Party in the 1990s.
Right, but if there's one thing you really have to try at for a long time before it's going to work, it's that, right? Like building a third party.
There's never been third parties in the United States. There's only been two parties. There's been examples of existing parties collapsing and then another party kind of taking their place. The Whig is the Whigs is sort of prime example of it. They were basically torn apart because they were like centrist cucks in the time of slavery when the country was like really, really polarized. But there's a prerequisite is like the collapse of a party. So like if the two parties remain strong, there's just no way that there is no like in the sort of first past the post system and the system where like parties control so much of the state apparatus for voting and things like that. I don't know. I don't see it happen. It's never happened. And it's like, we can keep wishing it, but like every time it's been tried, they get like insignificant support. So, and I'm not saying that we have to like, pipe up and kind of play along with the Democratic Party. I think we desperately need independent institutions, both media and electoral and all the things like that. But you have to run on one of the two main party ballot lines.
Yeah.
And it sucks. It's just like our stupid system that sucks. But
unless we really get totally organized. I mean, don't you think I feel like this moment is unique. I mean, there is the People's Party. I'm going to have people on from them. Is there a strategy to run as a third party? I don't know what they're doing. Or is there strategy to be? I don't think it is. Even when the labor movement was very powerful in this country in the 1940s, 1950s, they talked about this all the time, and they weren't able to do it. So, yeah. So we're going to get back to Neera Tanden and another guest. But
someone say DSA has members elected now. That's true, but they ran as Democrats.
Right.
That's that's my point. Yeah, you need independent institutions. Like DSA, I have my doubts about DSA as an institution, but something like DSA. But DSA's strategy has always been, and I think it's the correct one, is to maintain independent power sources away from the Democratic Party, but then run on them on Democratic Party lines. Like, I'm sorry, like that's just the only way AOC would have won as a DSA member. you know?
Yeah. Yeah. Oh, totally. No, that's true. That's true. You're right. No, that is what that's evidence of is the fact that it's not like moving left isn't bad. But Nando, guys, I'm really excited. Well, first, I think Kelly wants to explain a term, and then I have an important announcement. Oh, by the way, Lee Levin writes, I was involved in the Tony Matsuoki efforts to form a labor party in the late 70s. It went nowhere. We need to build institutions.
I think that the focus on. Oh, sorry. Go ahead. I didn't mean to.
That's okay.
Someone's.
Yeah. I don't understand why. I just think it would be better to just take over the Democratic Party just because we could use all their stuff. They have a lot of stuff and money and things like that.
Wow, you sound like a real Bernie Sanders type.
Well,
I'm just kidding. I agree, but go Nando, and then I'll.
The real thing is that like we're trained to focus on democracy as elections, and I think that we should contest in elections all the time as the left. We should continue to do that, but like it is the prerequisite for a strong left in this country or in any country is powerful labor unions. That's it. So like we can kind of debate ourselves to death over like the theoretical political strategies around third partyism, but really the point that no third party or the Democratic Party strategy is going to work without a revitalized labor movement. That's just a prerequisite for it. It is the evidence. There's never been in history, sort of in the democratic history, any sort of meaningful reforms that don't come from powerful labor movements. So. Things like, the union drive in Amazon, in the Amazon warehouse in the small town in Alabama, like we should be like sending all the left resources toward that right now. Like that would be a completely, like if Amazon warehouses were to be unionized, would change the political landscape in this country to the point where these debates would be immaterial, but like thinking that a third party is going to build any meaningful support without a powerful labor movement is just fantasy.
Well, I agree. I agree with that. But if we're going to have a winner takes all electoral system, then I really don't see how a third party is going to work. If we don't have that
no, but you see,
then
my thing is that
it's a totally different story. And then, I think that the Democratic Party would die very quickly.
Well, that would be great.
One generation. It would be great. But we have to change the whole system.
I'm not an accelerationist, but I honestly think that we have to have, like, I've never thought this before, but I no longer think anything could happen in the Dems. I mean, maybe one more try, but like, I don't think it's going to work. And I'm not a third party person usually. And if it takes a generation of us losing, not generation, like a cycle losing, so that we then are able to have an influence. Because as Lawrence O'Donnell says, if you work on the Hill, you don't care about what the left thinks because they have nowhere to go. And look at fucking Biden. Look what, I mean, we're going to get back to the fun stuff as opposed to debating, annoying stuff like third parties, but or non-third or
That's true. I mean, but like, when the most meaningful progress in this country happened in the 1930s with the New Deal, and sort of broadly speaking, the New Deal era, the 30 years of the New Deal era, which was the 1930s to the 1960s. Okay, that did not happen because people voted for Democrats too little. Like that's just ahistorical. Like I know what Lawrence O'Donnell's saying, but it comes because the change comes because in those years. There was a powerful, large, militant labor movement that came from the previous 3 or 4 decades before that of organizing and very violent labor strife and all that stuff. That was the prerequisite. It wasn't a tactical question about voting too much for Democrats. Like that just wasn't the problem, the thing that drove change in any way. It wasn't like Democrats were like, oh, they're going to walk away from us. That's not it. There was power. The power came from other sources, namely these very large, powerful, and militant labor unions. So it's just a little bit of a mental masturbation debate because like the real source of power for any left movement in human history from here to Europe to Bolivia just now. Like the only reason why the Bolivian coup was able to be defeated is because they have a very large, powerful, organized working class labor movement that was able to shut down the country when needed. The only reason why in Europe they're able to have more decent COVID relief than we have here is because they have a strong, still relatively strong, powerful labor movement. Like without that, the politicians will always side with the corporations and orient the powers of the state because they have the power of the purse and they have the power to do like essentially a capital strike. Without the countervailing force of labor union, we can debate the party system as much as we want, but it's irrelevant.
We got to do sure. That is the answer, honestly. But I don't know how we can do that with the Dems. Like what? I don't know. We should have
like that's the thing is like that's why like in the presidential on this presidential election, like I think that the terrain to fight for things like the unionization of this Amazon warehouse in Alabama under like a Biden administration is probably more not as openly virulently hostile as it is under a Republican administration, and that's it. It just allows a slightly more very small but slightly more bigger window to organize those kind of things. And that's really the game. Like we're Amazon as this like sort of very symbolic, powerful corporation that is the symbol of everything, of every modern kind of corporate ill, were to be unionized because it's so large. That would change the political landscape in this country in ways that we can't really predict. But it would be positive. But it would really change things in very dramatic ways. That's just the reality of it. I mean, I don't know. All the other stuff just seems like.
This is a good point. We got to build the Communist Party. I'm not kidding. Look, everyone rolls their eyes at this shit, but like that's true. So McMindfulness, who moved my cheese, writes the only reason there was a strong labor movement was that FDR was forced by a massive communist party to enforce labor law for the first time in American history, which is why I have on guests like Assad Haider and Eugene Puryear, by the way.
Well, it's unclear to me that the order of operations there is correct because the labor militancy in the United States predated the presence of the Communist Party in the United States. I mean, there were populist movements. There were populist movements that emerged in the late 19th century that really started kind of organizing working class voters all over the place. So it's unclear to me that the presence of it was the presence of the I think the presence of the communists really much helped the labor movement. Of course, like I'm not instituting, but the people in power, the communists did not run people they did not contest elections. So if people are talking about whether to contest elections as a third party, that's just wrong. Like that's ahistorical. It was the Democratic Party that ended up contesting elections. Yes, there was a Communist Party that sort of buttressed the labor movement, and they were purged and all that stuff. But they did not contest elections.
Well, they pushed the Dems also. Like it is true that without the Communist Party, we need a more radical party. Even though I wasn't prepared to talk about this. I'm glad we have, but I have to bring.
I think that in a lot of ways, what you guys are discussing is probably a little bit too academic for the moment that we're in, because one of the most effective things about Trump's presidency was really cementing these fake divides that we have as workers, and dividing people up, as a matter of ideology, when in reality that they could, Trump could care less about that kind of stuff. It really split the country along ideological, cultural lines when the stuff that you guys are talking about making happen, like a mass labor movement. We need more than just one side of things in order for that to happen. And currently there's no future for that, because everyone has been convinced that the two sides are so just polar opposites, and in a lot of ways they are, but in a lot of ways they're not. I mean, it's a labor thing, and you guys are talking about, this, if we could do this with this, and I mean, we're just so far from Democrats and Republicans.
No, I think that there's you're true. You're absolutely right about that. That the political fault lines in this country are around culture and not around class, and that's 100% true. Which is why something like the sort of Amazon
it's not an amazing
unionization drive.
I'm just saying that, like, you talk about unionizing and all of these different things that you guys are talking about, or that like anybody is talking about on similar shows. They are not going to bring Trump people and us together ever.
Who isn't going to do this?
Talking about unionizing, just like things that will make people's conditions, people who work together, things that will make their conditions better. And like somebody going around.
We'll do that then.
Well, okay. So, for example, okay. So
this is the view that this is the view that Jane
McAlevey.
Yeah, Jane McAlevey and Adolph Reed and I were talking about, which is the idea that because these people like Trump and they're racist, we cannot reach them through labor. It's like, no, it's the exact opposite. It's because
I'm saying that wedges. I don't think that the way that the current formulation of people, of the ideas that people have of how to unite people whose interests are really in the same, who are really in the same boat. I don't think that any of the current formulations are working when it comes to labor.
Yeah. No, it definitely hasn't. I mean, all you have to do is point to the continued decline of labor union density in America. But labor unions do tend to bring people together around shared interests, which is why a state like West Virginia, which we see as very Trumpy reactionary these days, like West Virginia, which has a very strong labor history, was one of the hotbeds of labor militancy in the United States, was one of the only states to vote for Jimmy Carter in 1980, and voted Democrat up until not that long ago. That's why Joe Manchin is still there, even though he's a relic of that past, when a state like West Virginia was a reliable, a very, very, and all of Appalachia really was a very, very reliable Democratic bloc. It was because they had very powerful labor unions around the mines, but as they were defeated, then the state drifted Republican. I mean, there's no reason why, say, for example, if say by some miracle, this Amazon unionization drive in a small town in Alabama, the reddest state you can imagine, if you started to see labor militancy there, you would see Alabama change politically very, very dramatically. In ways that it's hard for us to imagine, but that's really the prerequisite, is sort of winning these fights, these sort of very kind of bread and butter fights at the sort of employer level, the workplace. That really is what drives politics. If not, we're just going to be arguing about culture war bullshit, which is what politics in the United States currently is, and that's why people are so easily divided, because you can sort them out by whether they watch Broad City or whatever, Duck Dynasty.
What is it?
Cops.
Yeah. What did I say, or what?
I got a cocktail.
Oh, great! I need a girlfriend. Well, I mean, honestly, whatever.
You want a girlfriend?
But no, I want a boyfriend who brings me a cocktail.
Me too.
Yeah.
I mean,
wait, I'm gonna see myself out, but the reason that I came back on was to explain what a phloby is.
What is that? Oh, the haircut thing.
Yeah, it's they did the TV late night ads, and it's just an attachment to your vacuum cleaner, and then you could just set it to a certain setting, and you could cut this length of hair, or that's how it's different than like a razor with different settings. Like, you know, you cut this length of hair, or you could cut any length of hair. It's a really bad idea. Don't like it's, but I did check recently and it still is for sale.
Nice.
Maybe I do need to buy them.
What'd you say?
Maybe we can get sponsored by them.
Flowbee?
Yeah, why not?
Like, sure.
Who else is going to do it for them? Who else has the bravery to do that?
I don't know of anyone.
I'll cut my hair on air with a Flowbee if we get sponsored by it.
Well, I'll do it as well. I've been cutting my own hair, and you know, doesn't look good. And
I get a lot of updates about it.
But I'm going.
Nanda, you didn't notice my haircut.
I didn't. I'm very bad at noticing women's haircuts.
I'm glad you have a girlfriend.
Yeah, she just cut her hair too, and yeah,
they're notoriously bad at realizing how to haircut.
Yeah,
I know, it's horrible.
Yeah,
not to generalize, but you know.
No, that you can safely generalize that one.
It's a generalization, unless you know they're a hairstylist, which many straight men are. Okay, well, I'm gonna see myself out, and I'm gonna see this person in. I don't know if that's the right.
Oh yeah, he's actually already in, but yeah. So guys, I have some very exciting news and a very ugly updated thumbnail. But what are you gonna do? We've had a shift in plans, change in plans. Are you ready, guys? And in some ways,
ready.
The COVID stuff can wait. I mean,
sure. It's not going anywhere.
Yeah, right. I mean, honestly, it's kind of a relief because, I mean, there's no relief for COVID, but yeah, it's not going anywhere. But you know what is kind of timely, and which is why this is such a blessing. You know who we're bringing on? We are bringing on none other than Kevin Gosztola.
Oh my goodness.
Yeah. Oh my goodness is right. I love when Nanda says that. It's so cute.
No, it's good.
Hey.
Have you guys ever met before?
No.
Oh, well, I know
I very much enjoyed your reporting on Assange. I used it liberally in the segment I did on him for Jacobin Weekends. So I appreciate it.
Thanks for having me. It's a pleasure to be the COVID relief for your show.
Yeah, seriously. This is it is COVID relief. We had a little scheduling issue with someone who was supposed to be. Do you have a mic? I'm only saying that because I know you have a podcast.
Actually, I am in the middle of figuring out what my new setup's going to be. The mic I had broke a while ago, so I am at the mercy of this Apple MacBook mic. Which I know is as good as the one my co-host Branya has, which, you know, she's got this big long thing that sticks into her.
I think I just did a very good.
Got the big long thing.
No,
what color is it?
I couldn't help.
I couldn't. Make her feel like she's speaking into a phallic object.
Yeah.
Okay, I just pinned my tweet. I got to reshare it, guys. I'm very sorry if this. I mean, no, I'm not sorry. You're blessed. That's what I'll say. You're blessed. Hold on. I just got to send this to someone who's going to tweet it out.
My drink is a bee's knees, by the way. This is called the bee's knees.
I love that. It has honey, right?
Yes, it does.
I'll let my followers know I'm on here.
Okay, so guys,
and then we'll get.
All right. Well, I just did you guys a major Patreon plug.
Oh, thank you.
Well, cool. I mean, thank you for not having a mic set up. Whoa, was this all a trick?
That's exactly it. I'm just here to deceive, and this is a long con that I've been playing.
Yeah.
Since COVID started back in March.
What did you call it? What was the microphone? Long what?
I said it was a phallic object, but you know, if I'm going to quote Rania, she's actually referred to it as a big dick.
Oh, well, this has been a big dick of a plan then. Long phallic plan, yeah. Well, I'm so excited to have you on because, first of all, I want to just give you a hand for real because Kevin's great, and he's great on so many things. And one of the things he's great about is Assange stuff. He's great about censorship stuff. He's very brave. You really are brave. And, you know, it's hard for me as a brave person. Sometimes I feel so alone in this world. That was a joke. But Nando does think I happen to know Nando thinks I'm brave, so maybe he thought I was.
I do. Far more brave than I.
Yeah, damning with.
You stick your finger in the mucky muck a lot more than I do.
Yeah.
Yeah. You're not afraid of poking the. I'm still a little cucked in that sense. Like I'm afraid of.
Oh, Kevin, you gotta delete delete your tweet because you tweeted the StreamYard tweet.
Oh.
Thank you, my friend.
Oh, so like everybody is
we're just gonna get flooded by people joining the StreamYard.
What a great blooper there! I've never done that before. I'm like,
yeah, this is such a great behind the scenes show. All right,
here we go. I'm sure people were like, "What do I do with that?" I don't know what I'm supposed to do with that link.
Well, whatever. Okay. You're I don't know if I can thank this person by name, but he's the best. So guys, yeah,
whatever.
If you want to delete that tweet and instead
it's gone, and I'm just gonna, how about I retweet the one that you sent of me? That's probably the easiest thing to do.
Yeah, I mean, if you're gonna keep it there, I'll just deny people entry all night, but put the link of that after. I'm gonna have to be a bouncer.
Yeah.
Okay, so guys, all right, this is very. All right, so I'm gonna give a shout out. I'm serious though. Okay. So guys, we were watching a Neera Tanden. Just want to catch you up, Kevin. We were watching a Neera Tanden video with Bill Kristol.
Okay.
But there's so many more videos. I mean, in fact, I would like to play. And by the way, all these videos I'm playing, shout out to Case Study OB, who you can follow on Twitter. I don't know do you follow him? Or maybe it's her. He's amazing, right? So that name is Case Study QB. Case Study QB. Okay. So he's uploaded a bunch of, well, yes, he has provided us with much good stuff. And so I'm gonna play we already saw the Bill Kristol video. Now I'm gonna play another video, and this is very important. And then we're gonna talk policy, okay, Kevin? But we're going to ease into the policy. Okay. So this is one of Nando and my favorite people. Actually, Nando, can you introduce JR as only woke Brian Williams can? Remember, guys, I talk a lot about woke washing.
Mm-hmm.
Right? And Kevin, you've covered this too. This real weaponization of identity politics to, ironically, back policies that are bad for women, people of color, all that, right? Okay.
Mm-hmm.
So here we go.
For the future. Well, and let's talk about that, because you've already got people carping about Neera Tanden. There have up to date not been any Asian American AAPI nominees. Of course, Neera's background is Indian American. She's already getting beat.
So I'm going to stop you there. So Neera Tanden is Asian American, and that is so that's the first response to substantive attacks on her, right? That's just want to make sure people understand that. And we're going to keep going, but keep that in mind, okay? Because of course, all things being equal, I would love to have someone in that budget position I, follow with all my heart, not be a straight white man. But, okay.
Beaten up by people like Senator Cornyn of Texas, going after her for combative and insulting comments about many members of the Senate, many on our side of the aisle, blah, 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 as if John Cornyn, at one point, I think he called Trump a toddler, that he needed to, it's not as if these people on the right have not said a lot of untoward things about Democrats.
You think?
About members of the House of Representatives, including AOC, and they feel free to do that and say whatever they want, and they think they should get what they want. What do you make of them trying to use, Neera Tanden's tweets as a reason not to give her, to stand in the way of her getting the job?
Well, the label hypocrisy doesn't apply to the Republicans in their view. And so rampant hypocrisy is what they exhibit all the time. They're going to have a chance to question Neera regarding all of the issues that they're concerned about. And she comes to that job at OMB with the life experiences of being on food stamps, being in Section 8 housing. She understands the role of government to actually help people and help families, as opposed to one of her predecessors, Mulvaney, whose goal in life was to cut back on Social Security, Medicare, Medicaid, who thought that government wasn't there to help people in his job.
So I just want to make sure people understand. She just pointed out that she grew up on Section 8 housing, right? I couldn't hear what she says. I can't understand what she said before that. Could you hear that, Kevin? Do you know what?
She said something about Mick Mulvaney was working on Social Security cuts, or is an advocate for Social Security cuts, which I think
is rich. So
yeah.
Yeah. Okay. So remember. Okay.
On Social Security, Medicaid.
Hold
on. I'll be right back.
Life was to cut back on Social Security, Medicare, Medicaid, who thought that government wasn't there to help people. His job was to constrict government as much as possible. So you have in your tandem somebody who has lived the experience of experiencing the social safety net that the government provides, and people needing a helping hand. And so she is going.
So with Neera Tanden, you have someone who has the lived experience of relying on the social safety net. Okay, just keep that in mind, and be on Section 8 housing.
To be reflective of the values that support people, support families, which is really quite a relief for those of us who look on government as not the total solution, but as as part of enabling people to thrive in our country.
Well, and
okay. Kevin, do you want to share why that's such a rich and fulfilling clip?
So, I come from, so the site I published to now is called Shadowproof, but we spun off from a site that was sort of part of this group that was the originator of what was called the Netroots back in the 2000s. There were like Daily Coats, and I was at Fire Dog Lake, and we actually, I'm speaking as a representative of like the archive of material. We have a bunch of posts that are in our archive about this time in which Neera Tanden was actually working with something called the Peter G. Peterson Foundation.
Pete Peterson. Hell yeah.
And was going to these like fiscal summits where she bumped elbows with all the like hottest neoliberal, centrist, third way Democrats that were still, muddling around DC and lurking around Obama's administration. And, some of them were in his administration, some of them were just kind of like gravitating around him and leeching off. And remember, there was a whole thing about this like fiscal cliff that we kept hearing about over and over again.
Oh, yeah.
And there was no labels, you might remember, that was sort of this like failed op that seems so dated now. But there was people need to remember that in 2010, there was just this massive vacuum that existed where there really wasn't much of a like progressive alternative at all. Everything was dominated by the Tea Party. There's no quote unquote Sanders movement that exists. So what you have is these quote unquote liberal think tanks like Center for American Progress and some of these other, I can't remember off the top of my head, but I think there's one that's like Center for
People for the American Way, or
no, there's one that's like something about policy priorities. Anyways, there's a group of like 3 or 4 think tanks that are aligned with liberalism, so to speak, and they are putting forward their own proposals for what they would accept in terms of like cutting the deficit. Because there was a big deal. There was the Bowles-Simpson Commission, or the Simpson-Bowles. Yeah.
Erskine Bowles, baby.
And Alan Simpson? Is that it?
Alan Simpson.
Very handsome man, no matter what you think of him. Just kidding.
Andrew Sullivan was incredibly excited about the Erskine Bowles, Alan Simpson commission when it was happening. I remember that well.
So I've been digging into this, and there's actually a Bloomberg video clip of Neera Tanden being asked about entitlement programs.
Yeah,
and she's
showed them.
Oops, yeah. And one thing that I noticed is she says that the public won't go for cutting Social Security, but she thinks that there are ways that we can cut Medicare. Like, it's basically what she says in the clip. So, it's interesting that, like, they don't. What I take away from that clip with Hirono is that they don't think we should listen to Republicans who are criticizing Neera Tanden because they themselves would destroy the safety net that gave us Neera Tanden. But what she doesn't say is that Neera Tanden is supported by people who would actually do damage to the safety net so that we don't have it available to us. So it's not really, it's just as much of a disingenuous argument as it is coming from, like, I don't know, if Steve Mnuchin would have an issue with Neera Tanden, like, it would be just as grotesque.
Right.
Yeah.
And the other thing is that, like, so she's obviously, they're already woke washing this, right? And we're going to play another clip, but they're actually, they're poor woke washing this. They're poor washing this because Neera Tanden came from poverty and she was lucky enough to escape it. She's going to cut programs that help other poor people who are still poor. They /cut programs that will prevent people from being poor. So she's keeping people or sending people to poverty, right? And her cover is, some of my best friends grew up on Section 8 housing, but really in this case, I grew up in Section 8 housing, right? And she uses that as a cover, and that was what her big fight with Matt Bruenig was about, right? And then Nanda, we were talking about this earlier, but she helped cut welfare reform with the Clintons, and then she denied doing that. But she, it's like, it's like saying I grew up in Section 8 housing, and I'm also going to, like, destroy, HUD or whatever. So it's like a next level of identity politics in a yeah. And in fact, I want to just show you guys one more thing, lest you thought that was like because I want to make sure that we have to be vigilant about the woke washing that we're going to see.
Well, I think Neera Tanden worked for, at the time, she worked for Bruce Reed in the Clinton administration. Bruce Reed is the guy who coined the term for Bill Clinton, "end welfare as we know it."
Yeah, that's amazing. And,
like, literally wrote that. Yeah.
Right, but you know what else he wrote? Apparently, he wrote a note. Do you remember about this? She discovered this. So this whole thing is that she got Matt Bruenig fired.
He called her scumbag Neera.
Yeah, right. Scumbag, like, but he called them. He was talking. Okay, this was because Joan Walsh.
She's POC. She's WOC.
Black Irish Butte. That's what I was. Yeah, the Black Irish.
She's WOC.
Yeah. She has weaponized her being her Black Irish identity. I'm not kidding. I started this. I think I'm responsible for it. Somehow I responded. She said something. She and Joanne Reed said something about straight white man. The guy was actually from the Middle East. Anyway, so then which devolved into actually people from the Middle East are white on the census, which is always a great argument. And
yeah, that's when you're really. It's the libs, the woke libs, like, are like one like millimeter away from, like, measuring skulls to determine like race, like who appropriately can claim the appropriate amount of racial oppression and things like that. It's really weird.
So before we just want to continue with this thing, because we're keeping track of the woke washing. So this is some more of that. Hello.
Some sort of, early talk about how some Republicans and how some progressives aren't particularly thrilled with Neera Tanden as Joe Biden's pick to lead OMB, in large part because of some partisan comments she's made on Twitter and elsewhere. But the reason I'm told that she was selected for that role was because of sort of the wealth of lived experience.
Okay.
The term lived experience.
Well, they both.
The term lived experience. Yeah, that's what I'm saying. First of all, they clearly got handed the talking points, obviously, because the Hawaiian Congresswoman said, by the way, she also said the lived experience of experiencing whatever the fuck.
Yeah.
And the term lived experience is just one of these, like, incredibly annoying, like, just that came from academia and has, like, somehow permeated mainstream liberal politics, and like it just no one uses that. Like no one uses that term in real life. It's very strange.
Yeah, right. I mean, and as you know, Brianna Joy Grace said this in an article, or no, I think in an interview with me, from like a couple of years ago. She was like, "There's a difference between experience and authority."
Yeah,
like moral authority. Like you can like people come from poverty who then, because they came from poverty, they're like, we don't need. I made it, so no one else has any excuse. But yeah, they're obviously it's just fascinating that they're talking points. Like, I don't think like Hirono and this journalist are just like spontaneously,
using the same term.
Yeah. New York Times to
the other funny woke washing that they're doing is like this whole line about like how Joe Biden is nominating an all-female communications team. Have you guys seen this?
Right.
Yes, which is true. And that all-female communications team includes Simone Sanders, who lied about CDC guidelines, like very much lied. No gray area there. Yeah.
They're also going to nominate an all-woman like drone squad, national security, like the defense secretary, CIA director, all that stuff. They're all going to be women.
Yeah. So yeah, and the fight, and so not only does Neera like try to slash welfare and the social safety net, but then she lies about it, right? She said she wasn't working at the Clinton administration at the time.
Yeah.
And then
she lied. Yeah.
She produced a note from Bruce Reed saying
it was an email, but it was clearly written in the notes app.
Yeah. Yeah, that was pretty amazing. Nando, I know you have to go, but Kevin, do you have a few more minutes to talk about?
Yeah.
Okay.
All right, guys.
Nando has to.
Oh, sorry, I didn't actually give you an answer to your Assange question.
Yeah. Give me a quick. What's the latest?
Well, just a quick update is that I feel really terrible about everything just because he's stuck in this prison that's endured a COVID-19 outbreak, the Belmarsh security prison.
I saw that.
He had his friend commit suicide. Was a Brazilian gay man who was afraid to go back to Jair Bolsonaro's Brazil, and they were going to deport him. The UK Foreign Office were going to deport him, and he was apparently a great guy. He would sing in his cell, and Julian Assange liked him, and was probably one of the few things that made him happy, and that's gone. So, I don't feel really great about where things are at.
Damn. And when's the next hearing?
So we get a decision on January 4th about the extradition. And then, of course, we had a change in the political administration. So we'll see if that has any effect. I have serious doubts, but it does change the state of play, as the lawyers would probably say.
Yeah. All right. Well,
hey, you
sucks. I mean, the Assange thing really depresses me as well. Like, it really gets to me. It's just.
Yeah, but at least so many leftists are coming out to support him.
No one.
I know.
No one. Very few. It's just. Anyway.
Because if we talk about it, we're doing what the Russians want. All right. Thanks, Nando.
Right.
Yeah.
Later. Take it easy.
Me too. By the way, I just want to chide some of my viewers for being like, thank you for telling me that words don't matter, actions do. I understand, but this is also Twitter reflects and affects real life. Like, if you don't think the Bernie Bro narrative had any legs outside of Twitter, you're wrong. And also, it's a good way to get at people's like true motives. I mean, I don't think it's irrelevant. I'm sorry. Like, it's not like I'm an idiot who doesn't focus on Neera Tanden wanting to take countries' resources after bombing them. It's not like I'm not, that's why I have Kevin on, one of the reasons. But like, I also think it's important to call out hypocrisy where it exists, because we have to try to undermine these people. And yeah, they can pretend, oh, who cares? It's just tweets. And you know what they're doing? They're doing this, look at Donald Trump's tweets, but Donald Trump, right? I kind of thought, call me crazy, I kind of thought like it wasn't enough to be not quite as bad as Trump to be on Biden's cabinet.
Yeah. Well, I mean, the marker here is always going to be that that these people are terrible, but they're not terrible in the way like Donald Trump is. I mean, I think that's the thing that is going to define the next 4 years here. Is no matter what, they don't put as many babies in cages as Donald Trump would put babies in cages.
Yeah. I think I tweeted, like, as long as they put one fewer kid in cages, they will use that.
And with the drones, it's that they're going to tell us when they're killing people. See, like, Trump made it a secret again and didn't think we should know because it would, obviously it would help the terrorists if they knew they were being killed. Like, they don't know when people in their militant group get assassinated.
Right.
Like, so that was secret for like the last 4 years. We didn't hear about it. But now Joe Biden will be like, all right, I've got this woman, by the way, her name's Avril Haynes, and she's going to be the director of national intelligence. She's my James Clapper. And by the way, she used to be like queen of the drones, and she's really good. And she brought everything into a legal procedure, which I don't know if you've seen the clip yet of Obama talking to Colbert about the drone program.
Oh no, maybe we should watch like 30 seconds of that. What does he say?
What does he say? Well, I will say that I don't disagree with him. He talks about how like the war was, he talks about how it made war easy, which is true. But what I don't agree with is the way that he holds himself up with such high esteem that like he is a morally superior person who, because like I don't know if you remember this, but there was a New York Times report about the drone program earlier in when he was president that said he would like read Thomas Aquinas and all these philosophers to like help him ground himself, and that's why we could trust him in his decisions with the kill list.
Actually, I think he was reading them to get women. We now know from his autobiography.
Yeah. Exactly. He was doing that for hooking up.
Yeah.
But no, I mean, this is going to be the way that Joe Biden runs his administration. All the people around him are going to do this.
Yeah. So do you want to just like take us on do a lightning round of all the whomever you want to name, whatever you'd like to say, whatever you think people should know about Biden's picks?
Well, so just so people know, I have these threads out on my, they're not hard to find. If you look for my handle and then look for Biden's picks, I've done threads. I did a thread for the agency review teams that had all the people. And then I did one on the picks. And I also did one on the people who were providing the national security briefing for Joe Biden, because I think that's where he's probably going to go to get a lot of his people. But so, I mean, I think quickly the thing that I would say to those who are watching is that, you asked me to pick some of the worst people. So I'll name who I think is pretty terrible.
Okay, by the way, I just have to read this one comment. Reading from Enche, reading Foucault and deciding whose wedding to bomb. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah. And also, I don't know if you're up on this, but I love the thing of Obama where like he would invite Jonathan Chait or like Jeffrey Goldberg to his White House office just so he could debate them. And like he loved this like thing of like having somebody challenge him and then like try to like beat him one-on-one in like private, which I think just says a lot about Barack Obama and just how like stuck up he is about himself.
But he knows where to find smart people.
Yeah, well, I think that's the point.
You're welcome.
He figures if he could beat them in a debate, he's got his own views are tested.
He's outdoing us. He's really outdoing us and outdoing us. Yeah.
So the worst, I think, of them all, as far as like who we know are confirmed picks, I actually think should go to Jake Sullivan, who is the National Security Advisor appointee. And he was a senior policy advisor for Hillary Clinton in her 2016 campaign and her 2008 presidential campaign, both failed campaigns. And he was also the advisor for Joe Biden when Joe was vice president. And just so we know a little bit about Jake, there's this Vox profile on him, and he says things like, reject cynicism, reject certitude, and don't be a jerk. And he also is known as like one of the most militant people in the Clinton campaign orbit. He's not somebody who rejects using the military. So he's like, so Ben Rhodes, you know Ben Rhodes.
Yeah. I actually met him a couple times because an ex-boyfriend of mine went to high school with him.
And so Ben Rhodes says that he tends to favor more assertive U.S. engagement on issues and, quote, responses that would incorporate some military element. And that included advocacy for arming Syrian rebels, as well as Ukraine groups. So he's an arm the rebels guy. He believes in the moderate rebels.
Right.
Are you familiar with the Alliance for Securing Democracy and how they funded this thing called Hamilton 68?
No. Inspired by You Only Got One Shot, though. I know that song from Hamilton.
Yes. Yeah. Well, they did, to make a terrible pun, they did throw away many of their shots because they misidentified people who were Kremlin bots with this tracker that they claimed could identify disinformation. So this Alliance for Securing Democracy Council, by the way, these are the people who were behind this project. They include Michael Chertoff, the former DHS secretary, Bill Kristol, and of course, Iraq war supporter, Mike Morrell, former CIA director, actually a top candidate right now for becoming CIA director again. And then John Podesta was on this. And they put together this thing. And by the way, dear colleague of mine, I'm sure, I know you've had him on Useful Idiots, Max Blumenthal pointed out that Secure Democracy, this tracker, identified the U.S. military newspaper Stars and Stripes as part of a Russian influence operation. So, like, they're very, very good at it. So good that they don't actually identify any Russian bots and most of the time they'll misidentify Black Lives Matter protest accounts and make it seem like they're being manipulated by the Russians. So this is one of Jake Sullivan's contributions. He also is someone who didn't believe that Hillary Clinton needed to have any environmental protections, had to back any particular environmental protections if she was going to support the TPP. So this is from the Podesta emails. This was in one of them that was leaked. And also, he was a big believer in Donald Trump's attack on the Syrian airbase, launching 59 missiles against that airbase in 2017. And he was actually upset. He believes that Obama should have attacked Syria like Trump did, and he criticized Congress for dragging their feet on authorization for strikes when Obama was president. The other thing is Jake really, really likes the Moab. Do you know what the Moab is, Katie?
Mother of all bombs. What is it?
The mother of all bombs. He's a big fan of this thing, which was used for a scorched earth attack in Afghanistan. And, I'm confident that it killed a number of people who were in ISIS. I don't believe the U.S. Air Force was targeting the wrong people, but how they decided to do it was a scorched earth way of going about it. And now there's been reporting on the area around where this Moab was dropped, and it's been found that, in fact, the crops don't grow in this area anymore, and the farmers are having difficulty, and they're also they have diseases that they never had before that they suffer from. And that doesn't bother Jake at all, because he said in 2017, in principle, using this weapon for this kind of purpose is an appropriate step for the military to take. So he's really on board with this. He's someone who believed in, this is from a CNN appearance. I got this from a transcript. I don't actually have the clip, but he did this really long appearance in 2017, and I think it was April, maybe. He went on and he talked about Assange, and when he talked about Assange, he backed wholeheartedly the way that Mike Pompeo had characterized WikiLeaks as this non-state hostile intelligence service, often abetted by state actors like Russia. And yeah, so, but of course, the thing to point out there about Jake Sullivan's hatred for WikiLeaks is, like Neera Tanden, he was exposed in those Podesta emails, so he's kind of biased. Like, I mean, it's kind of like the Mean Girls situation of, like, somebody was writing about you in their journal, so obviously you don't want people to be able to read that journal, kind of a thing.
Right.
So the other couple people that I could throw out there is, I mean, Avril Haynes is kind of an impressive figure. She's been picked for the Director of National Intelligence position, and the reason why she's worth bringing up is because, she was a huge supporter of Gina Haspel. So she's kind of like woke washing. So right now, as far as like who we have confirmed to cabinet positions, she's one of the best examples of woke washing. I mean, we don't have Michelle Flournoy as a Defense Department secretary yet, or as the Pentagon secretary. So we'll have to just do with Avril here. Also, I love that somebody read my thread about Avril and said Avril Lavigne is still the better Avril.
I keep thinking of Avril Lavigne, yeah.
And so she was a huge Gina Haspel supporter, and so she's coasting on the same kind of woke trend that says we have to have a woman, let a woman have a chance to, and I guess, we'll be able to celebrate the first woman being in charge of the mass surveillance state. That, and I guess she could be the first woman to lie to Congress about surveillance programs. I mean, just like Clapper did when he scratched his bald head.
Right. That's very problematic. That you just bald shamed, because you are a toxic dirty bro, and you have follicular privilege.
Yeah, I mean, my scratching my forehead here is not the same as James Clapper, so he's self-conscious when he scratches because he's got nothing up there to scratch.
Right, or under there.
Yeah.
Yeah. But okay, yeah, okay. So Avril, yep.
So Avril is one that I'd throw out there. And I just wanted to say that she works she was at a think tank, and this is really impressive. She was at a think tank called the Center for New American Security, actually, let me make sure I get this correct. It could be CS. No, sorry, she was at CNAS, which is funded by weapons manufacturers. It's funded by Northrop Grumman, Lockheed Martin, Raytheon. It's funded by big banks, JP Morgan Chase, Bank of America. It's funded by fossil fuel corporations, BP America, and Chevron. But also, what's really neat about this think tank is that it's actually funded by Palantir, which is the data firm that she was at before she is going to take this position in the Biden administration. And this think tank was funded by the very department or office that she's going to be leading. It receives money from the DNI, from the Director of National Intelligence office. So it's a really kind of this really absurd revolving door phenomenon here, where you've got basically the place that she left and the place where she is going is funding this think tank where she was. So I mean, there's nobody else on this list that I can say that about that has that kind of money connection. It was really weird and bizarre to me that actually exists. Then there's this guy Bob Work, who was interesting to me just because Like nobody would have any reason to know or care about him, but actually this guy just does national security briefings. But there are these people that are being brought into Biden's orbit that I think are worth mentioning, because we've had that assassination of the nuclear scientist in Iran.
That's the other thing I want you to tell us about, please. You're such a about
well,
Iran, but we'll get
Well, so I don't know exactly all of the details, but what I do know is that this is very common. I mean, it's quite obvious to me that the reason why this person was assassinated is because we outsource this kind of action to the Israeli government in order to do what we don't think we could get away with doing. And also it's possible that Israel is just doing this in order to ensure that we don't return to the nuclear deal with Iran. And in fact, it's having the effect that they want, because Iran's becoming more boisterous about it's saying they're going to defend themselves. We just had the headline today that they're going to continue and speed up their nuclear enrichment. And I think they're, on one hand, they're talking about their own nuclear energy program. On the other hand, it's possible that that could involve nuclear weapons capabilities. They don't have nuclear weapons, but what happens is they always talk about nuclear enrichment, and people think that that means nuclear weapons, even though, as far as we know, their nuclear weapons capabilities ended with this guy who was assassinated, or people like this guy that was assassinated, because he's actually linked to the early 2000s, not anything recent. So, Israel is basically murdering him like 16 to 20 years later after. I mean, they haven't really been doing anything that would involve nuclear weapons for the last 15 years, as far as we know. And Gareth Porter's done excellent work covering the kind of nuclear scare around Iran, and is usually my go-to guy for keeping up on some of this and the attitudes around it. But this guy, Bob Work, is someone who is giving national security briefings to Joe Biden, and he was the CEO for this think tank that I mentioned that Avril Haynes is at. And he did this event, and this panel discussion on November 17th, it's called The Biden Pentagon and the Future of U.S. Defense. And he said that the biggest threat, like these biggest threats that we're facing, were Russia maligned influence operations, and then that the highest, one of the very, very high priorities of a Biden administration needs to be stopping Iran's continued march. He used the words continued march to a nuclear weapon, even though that's not like a thing they're doing at all. And so this was really bothersome to me, because if this is going to be somebody who is going to work with Biden to return the U.S. to a nuclear deal, that's at least what we keep hearing from these liberal centrists. Are they keep saying this? If that's going to be what happens, then we don't need anyone near the Biden administration who thinks that Iran is trying to obtain a nuclear weapon. Because what reason is there to go back to a deal? I mean, the whole reason why Donald Trump pulled out of the deal is because he didn't think it was fair, and he didn't believe that Iran wasn't still trying to get a nuclear weapon. And, he was just basically had Jared Kushner in his ear speaking Likud every
whispering sweet
Likudism.
Yeah.
So let's see. I don't know. What would be one good person to end on
What
here?
about, I feel like, have any of the people you've named been white men?
So there are white men. I mean,
Tony
Jake
Blinken.
Sullivan's a white man.
Oh, Jake Sullivan. You're right. Okay, so
I'm not sure
if he's.
I'm not sure how he might woke wash himself. I suppose you might say.
Is he a father? They're really into that these days. Have you seen that?
Well, I suppose Jake can just say twice he tried to get the first woman president elected, and
right.
that's good enough to allow him into the circle.
Right.
And but there's Tony Blinken,
right.
and he's pretty awful. He's going to be the Secretary of State, and he's pretty awful.
Yeah, we found out in real time. By the way, here's a question for you. We can table it, but I'm just highlighting it about who you think Joe will invade first. Iran just went away. Bolivia or Venezuela, but.
So I think the answer is Venezuela.
Yeah. All right. Do you have any? By the way, so okay, sorry. Just to wrap that up, we were saying Tony Blinken and Jake Sullivan uplifting women. Okay, was that? I didn't mean to interrupt you, but any final thoughts on that before we go into where to invade next? To quote Michael Moore's.
Yeah, right. No, I was just gonna. I know you went down the list of Tony Blinken.
Yeah.
But
we found that in real time.
I know you covered him in real time, but
right.
I do just want to make sure that people who follow understand that one of the things that is disturbing about Blinken is that he advocated for arming Syrian groups that we know from people like Ronnie Kallick and Max Blumenthal's great work were actually jihadist groups. They're not, quote unquote, moderate rebels. And he was asked by Joe Scarborough on MSNBC if he was concerned in 2014 about these arms ending up in the wrong hands. And what he ended up saying was that he had no concerns at all, and that the U.S. was going to vet all of these groups, and they were going to give the arms to the right people. The only problem with this is we know from reporting at the time that he would have known this reporting. So he said this with a straight face to Morning Joe. And in October 2012, the New York Times actually reported that Saudi Arabia and Qatar were sending rifles and grenades to these Syrian groups. And they were largely going to, quote, hardline Islamic jihadists. So he would have known that these groups that were being armed, oh, by the way, those arms were getting there with the support of the United States. So he would have known that. And then later we found from the Los Angeles Times that it's actually like one of the most wildest satires as far as war goes in Syria, because the CIA armed units are fighting Pentagon armed militias. So you've got CIA groups that are fighting Pentagon armed groups, and we're basically arming two groups that are on our side. So we have our side fighting our side. So it's really absurd. And he knew that, like he would know that was going on, and he supported this with a straight face. And it's still the policy that Samantha Power and Tony Blinken want Biden to support.
Yeah, but I think you're being a little bit dismissive of the significance of Blinken being a working father. Did you see this?
No, I didn't.
Okay,
really?
I shouldn't have given it away. 1 second. Amazing tweet. Okay, this is so important, and I really want to make sure that we touch on this, because as she herself says, this can't get lost. Hold on. Can't let this get lost, okay? This is so important. Can't let this get lost, okay? Should I make that bigger so it's a bigger font? Yeah. This is Samantha Power on Tony Blinken. Can't let this get lost. The next U.S. Secretary of State, Abe Lincoln, is a new dad. It will be inspiring for working parents everywhere to see America's top diplomat in action, as he also helps raise 2 toddlers. Thanks to Tony and the incomparable Evan Ryan for their family sacrifice. I mean, I never thought I'd live to see the day that a man would finally be allowed to work outside the house with children, with young children.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
The barefoot, it's like I'm so used to men being barefoot and pregnant. This is such a watershed moment.
Well, this R2P Yes Queen is basically say what action is he going to do? I mean, she talks.
Kevin, you're missing the point. It's lived experience.
He's going to be able to draw from changing his newborn's diaper and use that lived experience to help him arm the rebels more effectively.
He's going to know what to expect when you're expecting.
Yeah.
In child rearing and in foreign affairs.
Right.
But this is like a huge, huge genre now. We have to have a name for it. The absolutely this is like, I mean, is that like an attempt to woke wash? I mean, is that an attempt to identity politics? Is that just a huge reach? Like working fathers everywhere with fathers with young children everywhere can celebrate this visibility. Like young men grew up thinking they couldn't have kids and work, and now we finally see it. I mean, it is so dumb and substance free.
No, I think it is the woke washing. I'd put it there.
But he's a straight white man, so they can't.
They have to make him a dad then. That's what you do.
I'm going to make a confession. I was almost going to say this what the first thing that went off in my head when I heard this comment, I'm not kidding, from Samantha Power about a young father. You know who else was a young father when he rose to power?
Oh yeah,
Goebbels. He was a new father, young children. But I can't make that comment publicly, only on my live stream, because then I found out that apparently his stepdad escaped the Holocaust and was saved by a black GI, and the stepdad's words were, "God bless America." So I'm going to cut that from my public speaking gigs. I'm only going to say it in perpetuity on the internets and, to people watching now. But it did pop into my head. Like, do you understand how, yeah.
Well, let me ask you, what lived experience is going to help this new dad deal with the
deaths,
the caliphate forming in Libya that's selling the slaves? What lived experience is going to get him through that?
You know what?
Bargain for the oil. We want to get the oil from Libya, right? So how's he going to get the oil?
Well, I think he'll be able to use the new dad identity. Like that shared. Right. Okay. So let me see if what you're saying. I think I'm saying.
No, I'm just saying. Like, is there something he's doing? Is he reading bedtime stories, or what's he going to pull from?
I think that if he, for instance, a new dad, if he could get on the phone with a new dad and be like, "Look, I know you just lost your kids. I'm sorry you lost your kids, but trust me, before I was a new dad, I would have been like, meh, we killed some kids. Now it really lands. So just know moving forward that when I empower people to kill your kids, it's going to take a toll on me."
Mm-hmm. And that's why you need to give me your oil. That's why I need your oil.
Yeah. Yeah. I just think it's like much better, diplomacy to do it that way.
Oh yeah. Yeah.
Like if you're,
you can't make demands unless people know you.
Exactly. Right. I mean, wouldn't you be comforted if you knew that the man responsible for your children's death himself had children?
Right. Yeah. So when Biden starts droning people to death, then if Tony has to go, actually his full name is Anthony.
Anthony.
Right. If Anthony has to go, because I don't know if it's a microaggression to take the AN out of his name. It might be seen as like a pejorative to just call him Tony.
Right.
So it can't be that might be something we learned from Joy Reid that we're not supposed to do, is to take. Actually, it seems like more of like a Jessica Valenti thing that we might learn. But yeah,
Oh, and by the way, wait, Kelly makes an important point. He's not Evan. Evan is indeed a woman, so he's not gay.
Right.
Just so you know, yeah. Lisa Mohica writes, "Take your kids to work day is going to be lit." Dad thinks, yeah.
Yeah, with bombs going off.
Yeah.
So he can go meet the family of the child that was drone bombed, and he can share his stories from his home life in is it Bethesda, Maryland? I don't know where he's living. Maybe even like Virginia, whichever enclave he lives in that has people like him.
By the way, I want to give a big shout out to John Villeneuve. I don't know if it's French or Villeneuve, for citing a very good song. Hey Tony, what's so good about dying? I can't remember who sings it, but it's a good song. Very sad. But anyway, I don't remember the singer. If anyone wants, if John wants to put it in there. Anyway,
I should know the reference. I feel bad for not being able to.
I mean, honestly, I'm really surprised that anyone who didn't graduate Wesleyan in 2003 knows this song. So don't feel bad. Anyway.
So, yeah. Oh, and the one thing I want to make sure we say, because he hasn't gotten any attention, but I think we really should mention him because I don't think it should be adequate at all, is like John Kerry could not be more of a shitty option for special climate envoy. He's just, I know that you and only a few others have been fair to Michael Moore's film Planet of the Humans, but like John Kerry is basically that sustainable investor green guy that Michael Moore is attacking. In fact, he actually like founded this like climate partners thing, and he's all about carbon pricing as like the way to fight climate change.
Mm-hmm.
And this is like the stuff that I was able to uncover when I was putting together my thread. The stuff that I found on him, like I never really liked John Kerry. For one, he was involved in the effort to make sure Edward Snowden didn't have any ability to leave Russia, but and he's been incredibly hostile to Edward Snowden. But as I was looking at the stuff that he's done, for one, people need to know what the Paris Climate Agreement is and just how like horrible it is to defend it as like the thing that is going to do anything meaningful to stop climate change. I mean, it's already dead. So like the fact that someone who looks dead anyways is going to be coming into the office.
He dead identify, so it's
Yeah.
Well,
and I think, is that woke washing?
I think so, yeah.
If we identify
as a dead American.
If he's like kind of like a zombie, and does that check off like a box for the administration? Like, is that a first? That's probably a milestone, right?
Yeah, it is for zombie president.
And I'm zombie shaming, so I should probably quit.
You got to check your non-zombie privilege, yeah.
Right. So, the UN panel on climate change said that basically this climate agreement was not even worth the paper it was written on, to use a cliche, because it didn't do anything to stop a future where there would be food and water insecurity, there would be poor effects on human health, people would be displaced, we'd lose ecosystems, and yet he's got on the New York Stock Exchange, he launched something called Climate Finance Partners to innovate so-called carbon markets. And there's like By the way, I just want to send you this. Maybe you can put this up on your screen. But this image that I pulled from that website that has the most neoliberal advertisement for fighting climate change ever, where it just says climate finance partners, market solutions to address climate change. And it's this big glacier, or I don't know, it looks like a melting glacier, but obviously this is a horrible thing, because the market isn't going to do anything for us to stop climate change. We already know that this thing called carbon pricing isn't going to do anything for solving any of the systemic issues that we have, and yet this is what he's talking about. And also he launched this thing called World War Zero. I don't know if you've heard about this at all.
No.
But there's this thing called World War Zero that has all these Hollywood celebrities on it. You should just hear it. You could go. This would be entertaining. So go to World War Zero and just show people the website. I want you to scroll through and see the combination of celebrities and awful liberal political people. Let's see who we recognize and who we don't recognize. I feel like this might be one of the more fun ways that you could end your show, to see who's involved in it. And I think John Kasich is involved.
Oh, he's the best. All right, this is cute. Hold on.
And I want you to know, by the way, while you look at these people, I want everyone to remember that these people, this organization believes in something. Well, first off, this organization, World War Zero, comes from the American Security Project, which believes in something called fusion energy, which is a complete and total fantasy that suggests that we're going to be able to live on a world that is run by nuclear fusion by 2040. Except that the science doesn't quite work at all. And I'll stop there, but I'll just basically.
Should I enter the site?
What?
Should I enter the site?
No, I think at some point on the page, if you look at I think there are people on it. Did you see the scrolling list of people who are at somewhere on the site? I think if you scroll down from the page, scroll down, see if you can see. There should be a carousel that shows the people who are involved.
Oh, very fancy.
He paid some really good people.
Okay, here we go.
Okay.
All right, we got
So see. Stacey Abrams.
We got Stacey Abrams. I thought that was a Bashir al-Assad guy. Right? Who is that? Someone Harvey. Doug Brinkley. Jimmy Carter.
Don't know who this is. Leo. But then you got Leo, and then there's Chuck Hagel.
Chuck Hagel, kind of good. Oh, here we go. The dour Scotsman himself, Gordon Brown. Remember Bush called him that?
Yep. And then we got Jaden Smith.
Oh my God, Jaden! Wow, is he even old enough to be on anything yet? I feel like that's child labor. Olympia Snow, I love her. Love Olympia. Madeleine Albright, special place in hell for women who are okay with killing Iraqi babies.
Mm-hmm.
That's my
price is worth it.
Oh, Sting. Well, Sting, I mean, what does he do? Tantric sex or something?
Was that what was trending today?
Oh yeah. Why was he trending today?
I never even looked. I just saw.
I need a Norwegian person to tell me about Espen, if he's good.
So then we got Emma Watson, who's involved.
Arnold Schwarzenegger,
which is the Republican former governor.
Oh, my favorite. Oh, Susan Rice.
Yep.
Tony Goldwyn, who plays the racist Republican, the weird problematic race Republican on what's it called? Scandal. Leon Panetta,
right.
Former Republican, now just Democrat hawk.
Is that a Notre Dame priest, or who is that?
Is Mary Robinson that good?
Oh no, that's Justin. Okay, I don't know who that is.
I thought she was good on Palestine and Israel and Ireland. Former president of Ireland. Who's this? Youth activist. Don't know her. Lee Gunn. Don't know him.
But like that guy's clearly, like one of those third way types. And then what's Mary Steenburgen doing?
I know. Well, you know what's funny? That is a very
there's Hank Paulson
photo of her. Yeah, you're right. Who do I know who was his driver? I know someone was Hank Paulson's driver, I think. Mary Steenburgen, who, by the way, I grew up obsessed with fairy tale theater. I hate cartoons. And she played Little Red Riding Hood. And you know who played the wolf? I didn't know who this person was at the time. Malcolm McDowell, yeah.
Oh, wow.
Dennis who's this guy again? That's
the guy who's the top pick for the energy department right now. He's the front runner, and he's got ties to at least one fracking company.
But he looks so hip with his long hair.
Yeah, look at that hair. It's
that's how they get you.
Yeah.
I don't think, I mean, okay, not to be identity politic, but like, I don't think there's anyone remote with hair like that in any powerful positions of government. So look out. Kelly Rice, he's got ties to Benjamin Franklin. May or may not be true. But look out, guys, for the long hair.
I'm ready for Samantha Power's tweet selling me.
I know. Of
And
course,
then there's Hillary Clinton. Look, we got the Hillary Clinton.
U.S. Senate, Colorado. Oh, that's Sting's wife? This one? It's Trudy? Yeah, Kelly points out it's Sting's wife. Right, Trudy. I remember. I was like, that name looks familiar.
And that was, that's a Republican Secretary of State. And then we got Ashton Kutcher.
Don't know. The Stengel.
Yeah, he's the one who,
who's going to be like censoring us now? Like there's a special
I think he's going to go to the Agency for Global Media or something like that, right?
Yeah. And
that's our RT. So that's our state-funded media.
We spoke about this on Useful Idiots, but he literally he woke washes censorship. Mm-hmm. He said something about how like even the most enlightened Arab I've met wonders why free speech should cover burning Qurans.
Right.
Like, I'm not sure. Kelly writes an irrational number of these people have homes on Martha's Vineyard. That's true. They're high.
And then there's Gina McCarthy, who likely to return to the EPA as the chief. There's Carol Browner, who I believe, because she was at the Albright Stonebridge group. I will always know Carol Browner because she was on the 2016 platform committee, involved with Neera Tanden in stopping everything that was good.
They opposed it. I mean, we all have the same goals, but we're going to vote against it. That's the best. And there's an amazing clip of Keith Ellison who's just like, well, why then are you opposing it? Like, if we all agree on everything, why do you have to oppose this?
And so since it's climate change, I can quickly run down because this is fresh in my head, given what I just did on Neera Tanden. These were things like keeping fossil fuels in the ground. There was also a proposal from Bill McKibben on challenging the abuse of eminent domain by these companies. And they were all like, nope, we're not going to do it. There's Stanley McChrystal. That's amazing that Stanley McChrystal's involved.
Susan Rice. Oh, my favorite, Richard. Do we name Richard? Hold on.
Richard Branson. Yeah. Now we're back around. We've seen them all. Oh, there's Jimmy Fallon. I didn't see Jimmy.
What's his name? Seth.
Yeah, and Seth MacFarlane's involved. And you got Ted Danson.
Oh, we got a Baroness Ashton of what the hell is that?
Yeah, if you click on it, you can pull up probably the full background if you want to know what she is.
I don't know. It looks like it's hidden.
Oh, okay.
What are they hiding?
Everything. So these are the people who are going to solve the climate emergency. Aren't we excited about all of these people?
By the way, they're a couple. I hope you're not watching this, Malcolm McDowell. You may get upset, but they're a couple. Unless they broke up, Ted Danson and Mary Steenburgen. So that's cute that they're right next to each other.
That's probably deliberate.
Yeah.
And then that's.
Good. President of the Rockefeller Foundation. That's always good.
But isn't this quite
this is an amazing list.
Like an assembly of people here. Let me tell you, the Sunrise Movement is not going to show us the way forward. It's going to be these people.
Yeah, the Sunrise Movement really needs to stop picking on the influential Black staffer who is Cedric Richmond.
Right.
As white New York Times journalist Jonathan Martin chided them about appropriately, because he should be telling young kids of color who they can and who they can't object to while they're trying to save the planet from extinction. Oh, good old Meg Whitman.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
I love her.
And which she's been talked about as somebody who could be in Biden's cabinet.
Yeah. Did she speak? She spoke at the thing, right? There were two Whitmans. There was Christine Todd Whitman and yeah, I don't know who's worse, because one of them, like, you know, is responsible for a lot of deaths in the New York area, and then
Meg Whitman almost ran an entire computer company into the ground.
Right.
I think that's her. That's her claim to fame.
Well, she also said it breaks my heart, but she should be deported, referring to her housekeeper, who she definitely knew was undocumented when she hired her. But either way, like, you're a piece of shit twice. Like,
right.
You know?
Right.
Anyway.
So,
Cindy.
Yep, you got to have Cindy McCain.
Oh, I mentioned that. Speak of the devil, we got another Whitman in the house. Christine Todd Whitman, famous for pretending that the EPA had declared, famous for saying that it was safe to work at Ground Zero. So she, you know, condemned people to their death. People who did things like trying to save people or recover people or do, all that.
Right.
I love her. Name that Whitman. We should start doing that. Anyway, Sydney McCain is not reliable. She did not show up on time. She did not show up actually on the at the DNC at all. So I think people should be wary of her. Oh my God! Wait, Kevin, how could you not point her out?
Yeah. Hey, there's Sarah Cooper, right?
Who should I do? Who should I do the thing Sarah Cooper does to Trump? Who should I do that to? Like, I want to just lip sync someone.
You mean you're not going to do Biden, but you want to know who you should pick instead?
I guess I could do Biden, but I feel like it should be someone who's like, I don't know, like, so obvious. Maybe it could be, what's his name? The Ohio governor who we were just scrolling over.
Kasich?
Yeah.
Yeah, Kasich would be good.
I don't know. What do you think?
Yeah, no, I think Kasich would be a good pick. Anyone who's Republican who gets picked for his administration, if he nominates, I think you got to go for that. It's got to be who you go for. Maybe you'd be doing Nira.
I should do Nira, of course.
Yeah, right. You're gonna just
totally do Nira. By the way, it looks like this woman has devil's horns. If you look at her face and you focus on her face, the Leonardo DiCaprio collar looks like two white things coming out of it. You see what I'm saying? Like,
yeah, that's awesome.
That was not intentional. That wasn't. Yeah.
Awesome.
I'll do Nira stuff totally. By the way, I want to thank so much John Bowes for his generous donation support. Zippity Day, who says, "I love you both. Thank you for being on our side." Thank you for saying that. Yeah.
Thanks for.
Yeah, and Kevin, thank you. Thank you so much. Anything you want to make sure that we mention? I want to thank everyone for helping me with the Nira thing. I think I'm going to do that like right after this.
Oh, yeah.
You have to memorize my lines. Yeah.
Well, that's how you kickstart your career now. You don't have to do comedy writing anymore. You can just.
I'm just gonna. Yeah. Does she have a Netflix deal, or is it HBO? Who does she have the show with?
She has a show.
Oh my God, Kelly, do you know about this? Kelly?
Well, I know that she did a special ahead of the election. I know that she was like, but if you mean she actually hosts a regular show?
Maybe I'm wrong. Maybe it's just a special.
Because I know that she did an election special and had all these people that joined her for it. But can she carry a show? I'm not
sure. Material if it's just lip syncing to Donald Trump.
Yeah. They're the ones that need him to run in 2024, right?
I know. I think that's why Rachel Maddow was praying that for him to not die. That's why she was, she needs him for her career.
Exactly. So yeah, I mean, there just to close, like there are other people who I could name, but I know from following your show that you've covered them. But I also would say that there are people that you'll be able to get to at some point when they are actually officially picked. There's people who are doing national security briefings who are ugly and toxic, and I mean, you and Matt will talk about them. And people like General Stanley McChrystal is actually the guy on my radar right now. If he comes anywhere near the Biden administration, I'll probably spend a full week just hammering away at him.
Yeah.
And that, I'll say so the two things I'll say to close here is if you want to know about what Biden's national security policy is going to be, just go grab Jeremy Scahill's Dirty Wars book and get back into it by reading about all these people there. And then Max Blumenthal's book, Management of Savagery, has all the people that are likely to be advising Biden. And then I'll just end by saying, it is amazing that this DHS pick, Alejandro Mayorkas, was one of the guys that was selected. This is the woke washing. I feel like this is a good way to end.
I have to open up. Well, how do you spell his last name? I have to open up his.
Mayorkas, Mayorkas.
And what's his first name?
Alejandro.
Alejandro.
Alejandro. He's the pick for Secretary of Homeland Security.
Yeah.
But
he is I just want people to know.
He's a Latinx.
Hold on. He is so Latinx. Hold on.
Right.
He's so Latinx. How Latinx is he? I mean, well, you can tell us about him. Not that this part matters, but it's just interesting. He's Cuban. Do you know what he is besides Cuban?
No, hit me.
He's actually Jewish. So he's not only is he at least one side is Jewish. I don't know if both sides are. He's either Spanish Cuban or part Jewish and part something. My point is there's a lot of colorism. We got to call out the Biden administration for its colorism.
Right. So he was, the thing that I love about him is that he was actually in the Homeland Security Department when Obama was caging all the children. And you may think like, oh, he had absolutely nothing to do with this at all. But in my thread, I included this thing about how he was there when there was the Central American refugee crisis. And, this was when there were increased number of women and children that were awaiting their asylum hearings rather than being released on bond. That's what the American Immigration Council pointed out. And I just wanted to make it clear that, as a part of the DHS, he was involved in, remember how like Hillary Clinton backed this policy of like sending a message to like the children and deporting them back to Honduras, and like Obama
I'm on board, right? Yeah.
Yeah. And he said, this was how he spoke about it in 2014. We are surging resources to increase our capacity to detain individuals and adults with children and to handle immigration court hearings. And so that would have been for the purpose of deporting asylum seekers. And in fact, you had people who were writing from immigration groups complaining about fast track removal and urging them to stop the use of detention against families. And also saying that they thought that the DHS needed to create processing centers instead of continuing the failed policy of family detention. And he was also, so I can get even more specific, at USCIS, or the Citizenship and Immigration Services. He was there from 2009 to 2013 before he became a deputy DHS person, I believe. So he was there, and ACLU documented what the USCIS was doing, and they actually had a blacklist Katie, of people who were Arab, Middle Easterners, Muslims, South Asians, who they knew were applying for citizenship, but for whatever reason, they looked at them and they decided based on like their religion and their background that they did not want them to be able to apply for citizenship and to obtain the immigration benefits that they were seeking. So he was involved, and ACLU did a full report, like breaking this down. I won't go into further detail, but just that they had been blacklisting these people, and ACLU did a whole thing about it. And so this is who this woke man, this Latinx man, that's what he was involved in. Not to mention the fact that if he's Cuban, we can expect that one of the things he brings to the DHS is that quintessential neoconservative line of thinking about the global South and Latin America. And I'm sure we could get him to tell us about Nicolas Maduro and Hugo Chavez. And I don't know, he might actually believe that Sidney Powell had a point when she was railing against Hugo Chavez and the vote tallying and all of that.
There was some corruption thing I'm looking for. Do you like there was
well, there was a thing that Republicans tried to pin on him. It was very specific. It was very Benghazi-esque.
Okay.
I'm not sure that it ever succeeded, but I know what you're talking about.
Thing. It was something about hiring people or expediting cases. Here it is. The DHS, right? Reading from the very, reputable Wikipedia, but it says Mayorkas's intervention as USCIS director to expedite reviews for applicants for foreign investor visas in 3 cases caused controversy and delayed his confirmation proceedings.
Yeah, I remember that coming up. I mean, it's kind of a side issue. I mean, the more important thing is like, this is a person who fully believes in all the worst aspects of our immigration system. And they're the ones that, Sarah Cooper would do a video about the things that Donald Trump did that were new, but she'd leave out the fact that she's actually mocking things that Obama did.
Right. She's not mocking them if Obama did them.
No, she wouldn't be. If Obama was talking about him because he wrote in his book about those things, then she would have no material.
Oh, it would be so great if it would take someone out here should do this, like a rigmarole mashup or whatever of cutting up Sarah Cooper saying stuff about like lip syncing Trump, but cut it so it's actually Biden quotes. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah. No, that would be good. Yeah. That'd be good.
And you don't reveal until after that's Biden. Anyway, well, Kevin, thank you so much. I've been wanting to have you on for so long. And I had you on a couple monthts ago, I think. So
yeah, we talked
it was time. Yeah, it was time. And you're really you are sorry, I'm trying to scroll down to the new comments.
Blood and gore.
What do you say?
What David says.
What?
Talking about blood and gore in Planet of the Humans. There's the blood and gore.
Oh, I didn't see. Yeah. Oh, and look who's here with us, by the way, guys. It's Case Study QB, whose clips I showed earlier. Give a shout out, give him a follow too.
Thank you, Case Study.
Yeah. Oh wow, yeah. Case Study, you should tell us any clips that you have since I started the show that you want me to share. Okay, thank you so much, Kevin. I'll stay on for a little bit to answer your questions. And
right, great. Well, it was good talking to you all. Good night.
Yeah, you too. Bye, Kevin. Bye, everyone. See you Sunday at 7 p.m. All right. Bye, everyone.
Bye.